in the form of regional blocs that set labor standards together. As one nation, it is hard to resist the economic interests of the West. But united, we can stand together, make laws as a region, and make sure that it never happens again where the developing world must make sacrifices that violate their collective rights for the sake of cheaper shoes for the West. And with that, I yield to questions.
That developing nations' governments do not respect labor standards, they go the other way.
I wouldn't say that they don't respect labor standards. I'd say that they really don't have a choice in, I guess what happens when the Western corporations come in is that they give such an economic incentive that a country would never want to violate the rights of its people, but really they're given no other choice because they don't want their country to continue struggling. But what happens is they do continue struggling because there's no progression.
So then would you not agree that the worst labor standard is not having a job?
No, because I don't feel that that in order to work you have to die.
We were confused as to what economic issues they were talking about, and I think the wording of this operative is incredibly vague and not informative at all and needs to be amended. Operative 5, rehabilitation centers. The topic of this committee is efforts to curb human trafficking, and though it is a wonderful idea to help these people that are already victims, we need to focus on actually stopping human trafficking and not helping the people who have already been trafficked. Of course I'm not saying it's a bad idea to do that, but for this committee it is not in our interest. And where exactly is any specific notion or idea of having education from the roots up? This is a cultural issue as much as legislative and governmental and international. This is a cultural issue, especially in Africa, where it is okay for children to work and for parents to send their children away with strangers. They don't think twice about it. We need to have education from the roots up to slowly change the culture so they can realize that this is a bad thing to send your child with a stranger, especially with the hazards of human trafficking already in Africa. And 6B, again, I have issues with the wording of they can stay in the country as long as they pass immigration laws. I'm sorry, but the wording is awful, and I don't know how they could pass immigration standards since they have been in the country, or maybe they were smuggled in, so they obviously have the papers and correct documentation. And if they were in the country, they probably don't know the language because their traffickers would not have wanted them to get a leg up like that. They wouldn't give them power and give them motive to speak. I don't know how they would be able to pass immigration laws. And in Africa's interest, I don't think it is in any African country's interest to keep trafficking victims in a country that, there's lots of civil wars going on, and we get a bunch of refugees from other countries, and we can't take care of them. Thank you.
We also, Cuba would just like to commend the resolution for saying countries should punish any human rights or human traffickers in their own country's jurisdiction. We've heard much debate about moving this to ICJ and having things like that go on. However, we'd just like to point out ICJ doesn't even have the capability of doing that. All they handle is state-to-state arguments. It's not even a feasible option, and it also infringes on sovereignty, as we've said many times. We also would like to commend this resolution for not having anything about strings attached to aid that would come from human trafficking. We realize that human trafficking is a gigantic plight, and we need to make sure that we aren't stopping nations who have cultural or other issues in their country, and they don't want to completely alter their country just to stop something that's this awful. With that, I'll yield the points of inquiry.
Me first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Positive reactions to the humanitarian aid, as you said that you do. What I'm trying to say is, would you not see that your positive reactions to things would in turn create other positive reactions and hence better yourself? So what's stopping you from taking the next level?
Control of the insurgent rebellious groups in their nation, and that we cannot label this a genocide. Secondly, the government has made positive steps to ensure peace, and with continued peace, there are going to be less human rights violations. We need to strengthen the African Union because regional solutions are going to be best in this case, as I think almost every nation here who's spoken so far has said. Regional solutions through the strengthening of the African Union are really going to promote peace in that area and use resources and people who the people of Sudan are most comfortable with. Cuba suggests that we strengthen the African Union through perhaps the plan that's already being imposed with the European Union and the African Union working together to strengthen the African Union. Because it's been planned, we're almost halfway through it, and we need to continue with it. Also, we must be wary of humanitarian aid, because a lot of times it has strings attached that the government of Sudan will not be able to answer back to, I guess, and it needs to be on Sudan's terms, or else the situation is not going to be solved. As of right now, Cuba's unsure about Benin's plan for preemptive peace because there seem to be a lot of holes in the theory as it is right now, but perhaps with a lot of discussion, we'd be able to work towards something involving it. With that, I yield to questions.
When you talked about humanitarian aid having strings attached, are you worried these strings would come from a foreign influence?
Yes, and I disagree. I don't think foreign influences should be allowed.
On follow-up?
How is the European Union not foreign influence?
Well, it was the choice of Sudan to become involved with the European Union, and specifically laid out in that plan are circumstances so that it's on Sudan's terms.
Thank you, Nine. Azerbaijan, you have the floor.
The conflict in Sudan, while unfortunate, has not been recognized by the international community as genocide. It is an internal problem, and we must respect Sudan's sovereignty. We should be doing things on their terms. To help the Sudanese government, it seems that support should be coming from the region because regional support is more aware of what's going on, so they would better understand how they could help. With that, I yield to questions.
Speaker, Russian Federation.
What am I supposed to speak here?
You yield?
Yes.
So Azerbaijan supports UN peacekeeping intervention, even though the entire cause of the crisis in Darfur was a rebellion, and the government backing of militias that opposed the rebellion.
Well, as Cuba said before, they may have supported it to start with, but the group got out of control.
Your time is up.
Sharia law is being discussed down the hall by the Human Rights Committee, and I think it's up to them to decide to take any action on it. We need to focus on the political situations. We were told that earlier by our chair. I think forcing these groups to talk about Sharia law would unnecessarily complicate the peace talks when we just want them to go in there for a minimum of 3 days, according to Liberia, and just talk directly about the situation at hand. I think not only would Sharia law be a complicator, but it would be, not agreeable to all the nations in here. And if we want these Muslim groups in Sudan to talk about Sharia law, you'd think that they would already all be in favor of it if they already use it. So I don't see what that would quite accomplish. You correct me if I'm wrong, Delegate from France, but I don't think you'll find the support of many Muslim nations in this room to have something mentioning Sharia law in a resolution. I don't think
Questions? India, to what point do you rise? Speaker yield.
Yes.
In the word Sharia law is illegal, right? I'm wondering how you feel about you guys break the restriction of the conflict is also including other Christian people and Sharia law being enforced on these people in the large Christian
I'll just say this to all the delegates in here. Bringing up Sharia law now would really bring up a very complicating discussion. And I don't think we have the time or are prepared about it through our research to really discuss Sharia law in an effective manner. I think that since the already committee talking about that, we'll let them talk about that. And I don't think that it would be to our advantage to try to bring this up at this point in the game. And it would just complicate things. I'm sorry.
Follow-up.
we're not the Human Rights Committee, we're the Special Political Committee, and while Sharia law is a topic that needs to be discussed, I don't think that we have the time here to discuss it. Whether or not it violates human rights is not up to us to talk about. We're just trying to figure out a way to stop the violence in Sudan, have the violations of ceasefire stop, to bring peace to the region. I don't think talking about Sharia law right now would end in a political discussion. It would get into a human rights quagmire that we don't want to get into.
The problem with this amendment is mostly in principle. The principle of the idea that people need to be encouraged to adopt Western ideals is not okay in this resolution. If they want to, fine. Kenya has a successfully working system of 2 courts. They adopted that on their own, without encouragement. But you'd like to stress that modernization connected with Westernization is not okay. And this is what this amendment is saying. When you go about trying to have church and state as separate, it's perceived to be a Western ideal to many Muslim nations. There hasn't, not to my knowledge, has there been very many cases where a non-Muslim has been prosecuted to the fullest extent under Sharia law. I don't know of any, like, for example, Christian who's been stoned to death for premarital sex. I mean, if you do, obviously let me know, but and I'll stand corrected. But I don't know of anyone of any case like that. The idea of Westernization is too much and will discourage many Muslim nations to not support this resolution. The tone of this resolution is that each nation has a sovereign right to decide how to rule their country as they see fit. And if they choose to adopt 2 courts, then that's what they do. So that is why the Lean stands against this amendment. And I yield.
Questions for the delegate? Kenya to a point. An inquiry, does the speaker you need to speak up, please.
Okay, would you agree that, would you agree that this amendment does not force any nation to adopt a parallel court system, but just suggest this as a possibility so that non-Muslims can have better representation in their courts? The problem with that, yes, it does just suggest, but it also implies that those nations who support this resolution also encourage these nations to adopt it. I know many Muslim nations who support this resolution who don't encourage Muslim nations who practice Sharia law to adopt this secular court. That's basically my problem. We don't just put out a resolution because we want people to ignore it if they don't like it. We want it to be appealing to people. That's why you work to make it appealing. That's why we don't have a resolution, against Sharia law because the Sharia law Muslim nations won't adopt it. You have to make it appealing, and I believe that this amendment will do more harm than it will good.
Encouraging Muslim nations to consider the idea of secular courts not being fair. But how's the principle of forcing people of other religions to follow Sharia law? How's that fair?
I still have not yet heard anything about any specific case where someone's been forced to have the way of life of Sharia. People who practice Sharia is a way of life. It's how their morals, their ethics, how they dress, what they do with their time. That is a way of life. It's not just a set of punishments. So I don't understand where people who don't practice Sharia law are committed in court for a crime.
Republic of Korea on follow-up.
The other topic brought up into Sudan. The initial civil war in Sudan started because the Christians in Sudan were not satisfied with Sharia law. How does that not make this amendment relevant to Muslim nations that have minority religions?
I believe that there was a lot of other things going along with Sudan to make the conflict as big as it has, and I just don't see the relevance. This amendment is more about the principle of the principle. If Sudan had recognized that there was a problem, then they themselves should have adopted a secular court if they find that they're 50% or 50%. But by encouraging other nations to do so, encourage nations who have 5% non-Muslim, and it doesn't make sense. Why have a huge court system, an alternative court system, for 5% of the population, especially if they don't have a problem with it? I just don't see this amendment having a place in the resolution.